Most organisations think they're inclusive because they have a policy. Guess what? Your employees decide whether you're inclusive depending on how they feel at 11:15 on a random Tuesday. Hi, I'm Sharon, the Culture Catalyst, and welcome to Culture Shift in Action, the series where I help business leaders like you spot the gaps, take action, and build a really thriving team in less than 10 minutes. Today's episode, we're going to talk about belonging. Why is belonging important in your business? The evidence shows that belonging is the strongest predictor for engagement in organizations globally. Believe it or not, it is stronger than salary, stronger than the job role. It's even stronger than the perks that you're offering right now. And yet most leaders treat it like sentiment, not like a system. And people will leave cultures where they feel invisible. As usual, I've got some really helpful tools to make sure you're creating a strong sense of belonging within your organization. I want you to conduct a micro-exclusion audit. Now, you might be thinking, what on earth is this, Sharon? This is where you take time and really intentionally look for those tiny signals. Who speaks first on a regular basis? You will know who it is. Who interrupts and speaks over others? Who gets interrupted? And whose ideas only get implemented when they're repeated by somebody who speaks louder than them? These little tiny micro moments are exactly the reasons why people feel valued in an organization or not. They define that sense of I fit in here. The second tool I want you to try is called practice-based inclusion. You could start by replacing the talk with the walk. So what do I mean by that? You should be replacing the we value diversity statement with actual behaviour. And that can look like making sure you rotate who runs the meetings and who has the talking stick, who is the one that's able to lead and contribute in those sessions. It could also look like you sharing decision-making moments. What are the factors that you are considering and how are you going to invite people to work on that decision with you? Invite those voices that don't usually dominate. Somebody who's a bit more quiet, sits back and watches. What I'm getting at is belonging is much more about practice than a poster on the wall. And tool number 3 is called the feedback safety net. You need to simply ask, what is one thing here that makes you feel included? And listen to what the response is. And then to create that sense of psychological safety, a follow-up question could be, what's one thing that makes you feel pushed out? And again, listen carefully to what the response is. It'll give you some insight into how your people actually feel in those moments that make a difference, either positively or negatively. Then you have a chance to respond. And I want you to respond in a way that's not defensive, not symbolically. Try and be practical about how you respond to this. Here's some things that I see organizations and leaders like you make mistakes with time and time again. The first is that they whack an inclusion question into the annual survey. And worse than that, when they run the annual survey, they ignore the results. So you might report back, but nothing is done to tackle exactly what the score is saying. It's just a number. And in some organizations, the number of people who respond to those surveys is more important than the actual survey result itself. And that's just wrong on every level. Another common mistake is that they celebrate every single awareness day that comes along in the calendar. So this is a real problem because if you're over celebrating those types of days, but you're forgetting to fix the behavior, that just doesn't align and people will see it as disingenuous. And then lastly, one of the things I've seen over and over is that leadership teams outsource creating a sense of belonging to their HR team when they are not the ones responsible for creating that within the business. Belonging is everyone's job. So remember, people don't stay because they fit in. They stay because they feel seen and recognized for the person that they are, the whole person. And if you're wondering why this is important, here's 3 reasons. Belonging builds retention. You most important performers, talent will stay in your business if they feel like they belong. Belonging builds creativity. If people feel that they can be their whole self, they will have much more confidence in volunteering ideas, coming up with innovative approaches for things, looking at things with a different perspective, and allowing that creativity to flourish. And thirdly, belonging builds truth telling cultures. And most people that I know, most successful business owners that I know, they want to run an honest business, a truthful business, because truth means they're going to be successful and the performance follows. Run a micro-exclusion audit, practice inclusion on a daily basis, and build your own safety net to make sure people can feedback in a true and honest way. If any of this struck a nerve, there'll be a link in the description for you to get more information about my Culture Shift Blueprint, which is all about creating a sense of belonging like this in your business. See you next time.